Yesterday we left Victor Frankenstein freezing to death on a sheet of ice in the middle of the Arctic Ocean. He was a broken man, a shell of a human being, confessing his sins to Captain Walton. But today, we are going to forget the ice. We are going to forget the monster. Today, we travel back in time to Geneva, Switzerland, to a world of sunshine, blue lakes, and a loving family. You see, the scariest thing about Victor Frankenstein isn't that he was born a monster. It's that he wasn't. He was born perfect. He had the perfect parents, the perfect home, and a brilliant mind. So, how does a boy who has everything end up destroying the world? Welcome back to Stories with Consequences. This is episode 2 of our deep dive into Frankenstein. Today, we examine the roots of evil. We look at how a simple mistake in parenting, a misunderstood book, and the tragic death of a mother created the recipe for a nightmare. Victor begins his story by talking about his parents, and honestly, they sound incredible. His father, Alphonse Frankenstein, was a respected magistrate, kind, wealthy, and benevolent. He married Victor's mother, Caroline, later in life, and he worshipped the ground she walked on. When Victor was born, he wasn't just a child to them. He was their universe. Listen to how Victor describes his own childhood. I was their plaything and their idol, and something better their child, the innocent and helpless creature bestowed on them by heaven. He calls himself an idol. From the very moment he took his first breath, Victor was taught that he was special. He was the center of attention. He was the innocent creature sent by heaven. This is where the cracks begin to form. Victor grew up believing that the world existed for him. His parents didn't just love him, they served him. They guided him with a silken cord. It sounds beautiful, doesn't it? But here is the lesson. When you raise a child to believe they are the center of the universe, they might grow up to believe they are a god. And gods do not like to be told no. When Victor is about 5 years old, something happens that changes the course of his life. His mother, Caroline, is visiting a poor family in Italy. She sees a little girl, an orphan named Elizabeth Lavenza. She is described as a cherub with golden hair and blue eyes, shining like a gem among the poverty. Victor's mother decides to adopt her, but she doesn't just bring her home as a daughter. She brings her home as a gift for Victor. Victor remembers his mother telling him, "I have a pretty present for my Victor tomorrow. You shall have it." Think about that wording. A present, an object. Victor takes this literally. He loves Elizabeth, but he views her as his property. I, with childish seriousness, interpreted her words literally, and looked upon Elizabeth as mine to protect, love, and cherish. All praises bestowed on her I received as made to a possession of my own. Possession of my own. This is a chilling foreshadowing. Victor views living things as objects to be owned. Elizabeth is his first possession. The monster will be his second. As Victor grows up, he separates from his family in one key way: his mind. Elizabeth loves poetry and nature. His best friend, Henry Clerval, loves stories of knights and heroes. But Victor wants to know how the world works. When he is 13, on a rainy day, he finds a book by a man named Cornelius Agrippa. Now, You need to understand. Agrippa was not a scientist. He was an alchemist. He wrote about magic, the philosopher's stone, and the elixir of life. By Victor's time, this was considered garbage outdated nonsense. Victor runs to his father, excited, and shows him the book. And here is the moment where his father makes a fatal mistake. His father looks at the book and simply says, "My dear Victor, do not waste your time upon this. It is sad trash." He doesn't explain why. He doesn't tell Victor that modern science has proven it wrong. He just dismisses it. And what does a teenager do when you tell them something is trash without explaining why? They become obsessed with it. If my father had taken the pains to explain to me that the principles of Agrippa had been entirely exploded, I should probably have thrown Agrippa aside. Because of this silence, Victor dives headfirst into the world of alchemy. He stops caring about reality. He begins to dream of two things: banishing disease from the human body, raising the dead. He wants to be a miracle worker. He wants the elixir of life. He isn't interested in slow, boring science. He wants magic. When Victor is 15, the universe gives him a sign. A violent thunderstorm rolls over the mountains near his home. Victor stands at the window, watching the lightning with curiosity and delight. Suddenly, a massive bolt of lightning strikes an old oak tree in their yard. When the smoke clears, the tree is gone. It wasn't just broken. It was pulverized, reduced to thin ribbons of wood. Victor is stunned. He realizes that electricity is the most powerful force on Earth. He throws away his alchemy books and decides to study this new power. He thinks he has moved on from magic to science, but the seed is already planted. He has seen that nature can be destroyed and manipulated by power, and he wants that power. But just as Victor prepares to leave for the University of Ingolstadt, tragedy strikes. Elizabeth catches scarlet fever. She is on the brink of death. Victor's mother, Caroline, nurses her back to health. Elizabeth survives, but the mother gets sick. Caroline dies. On her deathbed, she joins the hands of Victor and Elizabeth and tells them her dream is for them to marry. And then she is gone. She died calmly, and her countenance expressed affection even in death. This is the final nail in the coffin of Victor's sanity. He cannot accept death. He describes the void that death leaves behind. He hates it. He hates that a loved one can just cease to exist. Most people grieve and move on. Victor does not. He decides that death is an enemy that must be defeated. He leaves for university not just to learn, but to find a way to bring his mother back. And so, Victor Frankenstein leaves his happy home. He leaves behind the father who didn't explain the books. He leaves behind Elizabeth, his possession, and he leaves behind the grave of his mother. He is heading to Ingolstadt. He thinks he is going there to study natural philosophy, but he is going there to break the laws of nature. Tomorrow, in episode 3, the horror truly begins. Victor enters his laboratory. He starts collecting bones from charnel houses, and on a dreary night in November, he wakes up the nightmare. This is Stories with Consequences. Subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow.